wins 5 laps.
The whole craft brewing wave took off in America in the early 80s, right? So they went from zero in the early 80s to where they are now in America, which is that craft beer is 12% of the American consumption, right? So if you look at Irish craft beer today, it's even with 72 breweries, it's just 3% of the Irish beer consumption. So people are looking at that and saying, we're only at 3%, the Americans over 30 years have gone to 12%. There is growth in the market and we can go to that place, so time to invest.
This is our mash tun, right? And it's in this vessel here that we mix the milled malt with hot water. It's the time temperature regime in this vessel allows the enzymes in the malt to become active, and they convert the starch in the malt into sugar. In the chiller, hot water, or cold water rather, goes up one side of the plate, hot liquor down hot works down the other side of the plate, and you get a massive heat transfer. So the cold liquor actually heats up to about 70 degrees and goes back into our hot liquor tank. The hot works at 100 degrees or cool down to fermentation temperature of about 16 to 18 degrees centigrade. Passes through the chiller and into one of our 3 fermenting vessels. Once it's full, we add our yeast, and the job of the yeast then is to consume the sugar and convert it into alcohol and CO2.
5 years ago, if you were a pub not selling Guinness or Heineken, you'd have been out of business in a fortnight. Now there's at least 6 pubs around the city centre serving only craft beer, and there's one of them serving only Irish craft beer. You know, in 5 years we've come a long way. Well, for me, a craft beer is something that's small batch, very much handmade, but more critically, brewed locally and served fresh. I have a big issue with imported craft beers that are, you know, well aged by the time they get to be served here. So I think craft has primarily got to be local and fresh.